So, so where does the money come from in music? Because I know that the model has been changing, and I know I work in comics, and that business model has just been evolving over the years, and the rate of change is just accelerated like crazy. So, you said you released an EP. Now that's like a CD, right?
So it's like a short CD, like.
So, like, how do you sell those?
The best, I guess, the best way to make money on them is to sell the actual physical CDs while you're playing. And a lot of people don't have CD players anymore, but people still enjoy kind of the memorabilia and like and having it as a memory of a show they went to if you give them a good experience. So that's a revenue stream. It's not too significant. Streaming, there's not much money in it unless you're doing really well.
Yeah.
And I guess the best way to make money is really just to tour. And I'm in a position in my life right now where I have the energy and the drive to book shows and just play as much as I can, and that's kind of where the main support comes from financially.
Oh man, it's a funny, like, going to clubs and getting ticket receipts. That's kind of how it used to be, and then the music industry came along, and we can sell tapes and records, and that was kind of like this big blip, like a new way of doing things. But that's kind of now losing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah. Well, with streaming too, has also come. So recording used to be a lot more expensive too, but it used to be worth it, right? When you're recording to tape and you record, and then you can sell this physical records and CDs, and you'd sell way more of them and make good money with it. But now kind of anybody who has a couple $100 to spend can make some pretty good stuff with just their like computer and a home studio. And I do quite a bit of my recording in a home studio, and streaming is like, there's so much music out there now that, of course, like just looking at demand and supply, eventually it's gonna be less and less, and you're not gonna be able to make very much money with the streaming model.
Man, it's I mean, so how much do you make when someone downloads?
It's by play, so it's like 0.003 cents or something per play.
So you have to get like 1 million people before you.
Yeah, like a couple friends of mine have millions on Spotify, and you can make a bit of money that way.
A bit with 1 million downloads.
Yeah. Well, I think you're starting to really trying to like living off of 1 million. It's not gonna work that way. But once you start hitting maybe like the 60, 70 million plays on a song, then the return.
Back in the days of plastic, where black discs and CDs and tapes, if you sold 1 million copies, even if you're just getting a percentage, like it cost say $10-15 for a record, you're making $1 or 50 cents or something like that, and
still ends up being with 1 million
you've done well. I mean, like, what was a gold record? It was 1 million copies or
something like that. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
My God, and you've got friends who've they've downloaded 1 million.
80 million, yeah.
80 million.
Yeah.
See, they should be superstars, right? Yeah. Damn, we're in a whole other world right now. It's how do you survive? Well, have you got like a Patreon or a GoFundMe kind of?
I haven't. I've considered it in the future. I wanted to do as much as I can with releasing my own stuff and just kind of showing that I could do it by myself. And then I'm just kind of looking into now applying for grants and looking at GoFundMes. And once you kind of get that fan base, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on, increasing my fan base and selling and getting my music to as many different places as possible. And then at that point, I could start maybe some GoFundMes for helping record, or whether it's helping with touring, helping with gas.
Or you could say, hey, I want to visit this little community out here where some really neat people or fans, to get here to there, from here to there, you can sort of say, well, it's going to cost X number of dollars to get across Canada, like in terms of gas, food, all this sort of thing. If you can raise it, help me raise that money and make it worth my time, then so you're almost like doing like speaking tours. This is what like ex-politicians do.
Kind of, you look at it, like almost like a book tour or something, right?
And you mentioned like the CDs, kind of like a piece of memorabilia.
That's kind of what it's become at this point. Records are coming back. A lot of people like buying records, but to start buying, it costs a lot to make them, to press them these days. There's a big demand for them. It's hard to find someone that would, and if you do, you have to, usually there's minimum orders of quite a bit, and trying to turn that over can be quite difficult.
Well, they say Marshall McLuhan's his big tagline, the piece of wisdom that he offered the world was like, the medium is the message. And you've heard that one before, right? Have you ever sort of like quantified that in your head, like trying to figure out what do you mean by that? Or
A little bit. I
I've wrestled with it for years, and I don't. I love that. It's just the fact that it doesn't stay pinned. But when I feel like I've derived enough some knowledge from it. And you go, well, what is the medium? Well, right now we're doing podcasting. This is maybe on YouTube. Whatever other sites we upload this to, and that's what people are paying attention to. That's where the downloads are happening. So that's the medium.
Yep.
So again, I sell comic books. I kind of stopped just because there's who reads paper anymore. Like the local bookstore, we lost the local bookstore.
Yeah.
Oh, such a heartbreak. But I sold lots of copies through there.
Yep.
The number of comic shops in the world has diminished. Like when I got in, I sent out like 4,000 letters to each comic shop. Hey, order my stuff. There aren't 4,000 shops anymore, and I wasn't even getting full coverage there. There's a lot fewer, and they're struggling. And it's a very different kind of industry. People go online for their entertainment. And so how do you find a way of, so what I find with comics is people will support you, a Patreon. I've got some great patrons out there who support me, and I've got a bunch of neat things that I want to give to them. When I print books, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to print 3,000-4,000 copies. I'm going to print enough for the people who support me and enough to sort of cover small orders and keep a few boxes so I can do some mail order. And people are buying them not necessarily to have, but to support, because they can read all the material anyway online. Although I think with comics, it is really, really nice to have a paper version. I've always enjoyed them more, and I put more into those. But
yeah, I think it's more. I still, when I'm reading books and stuff, I enjoy it, physical copies, and not having them like a Kindle or anything like that.
Have you thought of taking a camera with you as you go across Canada?
I was going to try to record as much as I can, and in the following years, my next project, I'm going to release another CD maybe next year, and when I do like the live shows, I want like an a visual experience as well in the background. Maybe set up a projector and have this trip and have the areas where I write certain songs on this trip, because I intend to write as much as I can on this trip as well.
Jeez, if I had time, I'd love to come with you and just film it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? Maybe get your brother to come to two Daniels. Two Daniels. But no, I find that the people who seem to be surviving this change tend to be these extroverted people who enjoy this new medium, but who also do something else. It's kind of rough. Like, you can't just be a great musician. You also have to be a personality.
Luckily,
you're a personable person, right? Which is really nice.